It's funny how life can turn on a dime. One moment you're staring down the abyss of failure, and the next you're riding high on the shoulders of success. I never thought I'd find myself in a room full of experts, sweating bullets, feeling the weight of an empire that hung in the balance. That was my reality, Rashid Al Mansour, the millionaire CEO, the man everyone thought had it all. But believe me, there was a time I felt like a complete fraud. I remember it clearly, the whispers around the boardroom about my family legacy crumbling, the pressure building like a slow suffocating wave. 40 experts had come and gone, scratching their heads over ancient documents that no one could decipher. "What will you do now, Rashid?" they'd say, half expecting me to have the magic answer. But inside, I was terrified, convinced I was about to lose everything my family had built for generations. The anxiety clawed at me. I had always believed success came from intelligence and grit, but I was starting to see cracks in that foundation. And then, in the midst of all this chaos, came a spark, Emma, the quiet daughter of our housekeeper. A little girl who had no idea of the storm brewing above her head, but who somehow held the key to saving it all. It sounds ironic, doesn't it? The impossible girl who seemed worlds away from the billion-dollar problems I was facing. Yet there she was, curious eyes locked onto those ancient pages, and the promise of a solution glowing within her. The echo of those last words from Marcus still rings in my ears. "You're too idealistic, Rashid. You'll learn." But that day I was drowning in disbelief and rage. I had staked everything on my vision for this empire only to watch it unravel one agonizing strand at a time. "Rashid." It was the voice of my board member standing there with a smug grin fanning the flames. "We need to be realistic about our options." I stormed into the conference room, the weight of his betrayal slamming down onto my shoulders like a brick wall. My own team had turned against me, questioning my judgment, siding with others who were blind to the fire sparking within Emma. "I won't let them take everything from us," I shouted, my heart-racing eyes scanning the faces around the table. They looked at me with a mix of curiosity and pity, whispering among themselves about my obsession with that girl. A child, as if she were less than the giants of industry sitting across from me. "What do you even know about our legacy?" someone sneered. But it was Emma's words that lit the path ahead, whispering truths buried in the rubble of ancient tales. Yet here I was, stripped of confidence, drowning in their disbelief. Even Marcus, who once stood by my side, had the audacity to suggest that perhaps I was grasping at straws. "Rashid, we need to think strategically," he said, his voice dripping with condescension. Strategic. I felt the heat rise in my chest. I was tired of strategy, devoid of heart, tired of being underestimated. No. I exploded. This isn't just about property, it's about family history and a girl who sees what you all refuse to. They fell silent, astonished. Yet all I felt was the pressure building, the pressure to prove them wrong. It's about to get sticky, so let's dive into the thick of it. Rashid, bless his ambitions, was really swimming upstream with a bunch of bricks strapped to his ankles. Little Emma, the maid's daughter, shows up out of nowhere, and suddenly there's a flicker of hope in the all-consuming darkness. But oh man, did Rashid wish it was just that easy. He believed he was on the verge of revelation, until the team of experts he summoned to catch the spark of Emma's brilliance showed up. First off, they acted like they'd arrived at the party without the drinks. Linguists and neurologists, they called themselves. Sounds fancy, right? But let me tell you, it was one headache after another. What do you mean she knows so much? That was the refrain echoing around the room like a bad pop song. Apparently, they were professionals who had never, in fact, seen a miracle or two before. Every person Rashid reached out to just seemed to raise more questions than answers. It was like trying to dig a hole and finding concrete beneath the surface. I have more questions than answers, they said, which was just what he wanted to hear right before the court case. It's incredible how doubt can strangle hope. The more Emma spoke, the more Rashid's own team acted like she had just announced she was from another planet. And yet, among the rolling eyes and whispered disbelief, there sat tiny flickers of determination within Rashid. Oh, he was frustrated, might have even muttered a few creative curses each time someone shot down his trust in this girl. They didn't know, but he was feeling it, a growing ember of belief. It was messy, it was loud, the storm was brewing. The stakes couldn't be higher, and yet somehow he couldn't let it go. So here we were, standing at the edge, peering into the chasm of uncertainty. A billion-dollar empire teetering on the brink, while Rashid wrestled with skepticism. The passion for legacy echoed within him alongside one tiny sunbeam of realization. Sometimes the answer looks like a little girl who sees a song in ancient texts. Sometimes those pure whispers of wisdom come from the most unexpected places, and just maybe they were worth everything the world could throw at him. The room felt suffocating, a failure too heavy to bear. Rashid sat at the edge of despair, the whispers of doubt curling around him like smoke. 40 experts, all watching, all waiting. His empire hung by a thread poised to unravel. He clenched his fists, heart racing. He could almost hear the echoes of his ancestors haunting him. But then, a flicker. Emma. The way she spoke, as if the ancient documents were alive, singing tales only she could hear. In the wake of all that seemed lost, something stirred. A light. Rashid, believer. Marcus urged his voice steady, but the storm inside Rashid raged on. Was it hope, or simply madness? He glanced at Emma, her small frame engulfed by shadows and uncertainty, yet her eyes, they sparkled with indisputable clarity. A sudden wave of warmth washed over him. The desperation turned into something unyielding. Rashid blinked. What if this girl held the key? Find the missing document, he commanded, the words pouring from him, igniting the air. Whatever it takes, we will uncover it. He felt that powerful shift priorities, scrambling fears falling away. He could not let his legacy crumble. Not like this. He stood taller, heart beating stronger. Rashid looked at Emma, and for the first time he saw not just a maid's daughter, but a beacon of hope. Let's do this together, he urged, resolve tightening his voice. The room pulsed with a new energy. A team united, ready to embrace the unknown. He could feel it in his bones. The tide was turning. No more shackles of doubt. Together they would rise. Together they would reclaim what was lost. The courtroom buzzes with tension, the air thick with anticipation as Rashid stands at the front, flanked by Maria and Emma. The opposing counsel shifts uneasily, clearly unprepared for the twist this case has taken. Every eye is glued to Emma, a young girl transformed from the quiet maid's daughter into the unexpected hero of this saga. Rashid watches her closely, a mixture of pride and anxiety swirling within him. The judge, weary yet intrigued, nods to him as if to say, "Let's see what you've got." With a deep breath, Rashid hands the final document to Emma. She steps forward, her small frame overshadowed by the weight of history. This has been lost for generations. She begins, her voice steady, unwavering. As she translates the ancient script, a wave of murmurs crashes through the courtroom. Her precise diction and innate understanding ignite sparks of disbelief in the audience. This isn't just a child offering whimsy. This is truth grounded in legacy. As the final words escape her lips, silence descends like a blanket. Rashid sees disbelief morph into awe as the judge leans closer, intent on understanding the lives entwined within those texts. When the verdict is finally announced, the gavel strikes like a thunderbolt, shattering the doubts that lingered in the air. The land rightfully belongs to Rashid al-Mansur. The room erupts into elation. Lawyers embrace, families cheer, but there is no wild celebration for Rashid. Instead, he kneels, a gentle hand resting on Emma's shoulder. A shared glance between them, a quiet smirk speaks volumes. We did it. The triumph tastes sweet. Yet he knows this victory is not just about riches. It is a reclamation of family roots and the lessons learned through hardship. Back in the quiet of his office, later surrounded by the artifacts of his empire, Rashid reflects on the journey. It has scarred him, yes, but those marks remind him of his growth, encapsulated not only in wealth restored, but in bonds forged anew. Success does not erase the struggles, it transforms them into resilience, a testament that echoes in both heart and history. As he gazes at Emma, sketching quietly beside him, he realizes that every inch of this journey was worth the fight. As the dust settles on a courtroom victory that felt as monumental as finding a long-lost treasure, I sit back and reflect on this journey. A journey that not only salvaged an empire, but transformed a man. Once consumed by ambition, I was driven by the need for power and recognition. Yet through the eyes of a child, a maid's daughter named Emma, I learned that true strength lies not in wealth, but in connection, trust, and the echoes of our shared stories. What does it mean to wield power? Is it merely about domination? Or does it require vulnerability in chasing revenge against those who doubted me? I found instead a path of redemption and a deeper understanding of legacy. Emma taught me that our past does not bind us, but informs who we must become. The riddle wasn't just about land, it was about the heart's geography, mapping the ties that bind us to our ancestors, to one another, even to those we might overlook. So, I ask you, is revenge justice in its truest form? Or does it perpetuate a cycle that blinds us to the better path of empathy and understanding? In a world where the thirst for retribution often overshadows reconciliation, how do we measure our victories? Share your thoughts and experiences in the comments. What hidden treasures have you discovered in unexpected places? Let's discuss the moral dilemmas that challenge us all, because sometimes the most profound lessons come from those we least expect. What you unearth could change everything.